We all make mistakes, but most of the time our mistakes have few, if any, serious consequences. Even when they have consequences, they tend to be limited to our immediate circle of influence. However, some of the simplest mistakes in our history have had far-reaching consequences and have gone on to cause some of the most significant events in our history. In this video, we will look at some of these mistakes, and you will be shocked to hear how a simple mistake or negligence can lead to such a huge catastrophe. So stay tuned and enjoy the video. The wrong turn. That started World War I. Archduke Ferdinand's assassination was one of the most significant events to trigger World War I, and it was all down to one simple mistake. There were 2 assassination attempts on that day. The first failed because the Duke's chauffeur deflected a bomb thrown at their car, resulting in several injuries to bystanders and members of the Duke's entourage. The Duke and his wife escaped unharmed from the blast. Moments later, Duke decided to visit the bombing victims before leaving the town. On the way to the hospital, his chauffeur made a wrong turn, leading them right into the path of one of the assassins, Gavrilo Princip, who was laying low inside a cafe. After seeing Duke, Princip fired 2 shots from a distance of only a few feet as the Duke's car attempted to reverse. Both bullets hit their target, and Duke and his wife died on the spot, and all hell broke loose shortly afterward. Failure to buy rifles. Single-handedly prolonged the Civil War. James Wolfe Ripley's appointment as the Union's chief of ordnance is widely regarded as one of the most significant errors in prolonging the duration of the American Civil War. Ripley, a conservative by temperament, steadfastly resisted any attempts to acquire better weapons for the Union, often asserting that they were too costly. He particularly objected to the purchase of breech-loading guns and believed that the Union's smoothbore rifles were effective. However, one of Ripley's greatest failures was his own ego. When one of his aides suggested that they purchase a large number of Enfield rifles, which the British were intending to sell off for free, Ripley did not agree to that because he believed that it was not appropriate that America should seek assistance from its former enemy, and predicted that the war would be over within a few months. But the prediction went horribly wrong when the Confederates subsequently purchased British guns and employed them to defeat the Union in the initial engagements of the war. Ultimately, Ripley was removed from office in 1863 after 2 full years of being a major obstacle to the Union's progress. A mechanic accidentally blows up several planes. If you have ever accidentally deleted a file, you know that feeling of dread. Multiply it by 1,000,000, though, and you won't be anywhere near as scared as one mechanic was when he accidentally armed an F-16 and caused over $40 million in damage in a matter of seconds. It all happened at Florennes Air Base, Belgium, where 2 mechanics were doing some maintenance on an F-16 when one of them accidentally touched the button that activated the plane's Vulcan cannon. The 20 mm gun went off in a burst of fire, destroying another F-16 in the area. Right as the tech was trying to patch up 1,000,000 bullet-sized holes before his supervisor noticed that, the plane blew up, damaging another fighter jet. Now, it's important to note that the cost of each F-16 is about $19, $6 million, so when you factor in the 2 planes that got shot down, the full tank, and the thousands of rounds of 20M ammunition, it's a lot of money. The sound of the cannons and explosions was so deafening that the 2 mechanics immediately required medical attention due to damage to their ears. Which was probably a good thing, considering how many people in the command structure were yelling at them. Unsynchronized Watches bogged down the Allies' Gallipoli campaign. During the disastrous First World War campaign, Allied forces sought to secure the Straits of Gallipoli in order to open a route to the Russian Empire. Instead, they were faced with a prolonged 8-month static battle that resulted in the death of hundreds of thousands of Allied and Ottoman troops. One of the primary reasons for the high casualty rates suffered by the Allied forces was their inability to synchronize their watches. In one operation during the campaign, Allied naval forces terminated the bombardment 7 minutes too early, giving the Turks time to reorganize in their trenches. Consequently, more than 50% of the 600 Australians dispatched to charge the enemy were killed or wounded as Turkish fire destroyed them. The stalemate and the high casualty rate ultimately forced the Allied forces to withdraw from the campaign, leading to a decisive Ottoman victory. And that's what we call wrong timing. Rommel celebrated his wife's birthday on D-Day. During World War II, Hitler tasked Erwin Rommel to defend the coast of France to stop the Allies from entering Germany. For weeks, the enemy had been in activity, and the weather had been bad, leading Rommel to believe that an invasion was still some way off. On June 5th, Rommel flew back to Germany to his wife and son to celebrate his wife's birthday. By the time D-Day arrived, and the German defenses were in chaos, as the men were without one of their best tacticians, Rommel owned up to the mistake and said, "How foolish of me," as soon as he heard about the invasion. He returned back to his army as soon as possible, but the damage had already been done. The Allied forces had strongly secured their positions, and nothing was going to stop them from entering Germany. We still have to give the Allies credit for deceiving the Germans into doubting the timing and location of the invasion. The Germans would have had a much better chance if Rommel had simply sent a birthday telegram to his wife instead of leaving his army alone. An old woman kills an entire country's internet connection. In 2011, Hayastan Shakarian, a 75-year-old woman, was digging for copper near Tbilisi in Georgia. But she ended up getting more than she bargained for when her spade smashed into a huge underground cable that transmitted internet connection to the rest of the country. The damage to the cables meant that all of Georgia's major internet providers were out of service for hours. Not only that, Georgia also provided around 90% of the internet to Armenia, so the outage also cut off its entire 3.2 million population and some parts of Azerbaijan. All in all, it took over 5 hours for the outage to be fixed, causing huge economic losses and leaving a trail of unappreciated Facebook posts. Georgian police caught up with Hayastan, who claimed she only went out to get firewood and didn't know what the internet was. The cops arrested Hayastan, but then let her go because she was too old to understand what the internet is and how it worked. An unlocked door doomed Constantinople. The fall of Constantinople is one of the most significant events in the history of the world. It marked the end of the Middle Ages and the beginning of Ottoman rule. It also marked the beginning of the Renaissance. One can only imagine what the world would have been like today if the Byzantine army had been able to defend Constantinople successfully. Contrary to popular opinion, the battle actually had a very good chance of success. The Ottomans did have numerical superiority in cannons, but the walls surrounding Constantinople were so thick and high that they could not easily overwhelm the city. If the defense had lasted long enough, the help of their European allies would have been able to turn the tide of the battle. One of the most critical blunders of the defense was that someone forgot to close the gate. The irony is that this is the same gate that the Byzantine army used to retake the city from the Crusaders 200 years before. According to the historian Dukas, when the Ottomans took the gate, they raised their flag over the tower and they were convinced that the city was finished. Not long after that, the resistance subsided and the Ottomans captured Constantinople. Security strictness slayed Stalin. The mysterious circumstances surrounding the death of Joseph Stalin have been the subject of numerous conspiracy theories. However, his paranoia ultimately proved to be his downfall. As with all dictators, Stalin was highly protective of his personal safety, forbidding anyone to enter his room without his permission due to his constant fear of assassination. One day, when he did not leave his room for the usual purposes, his guards became worried. But they did not check him as they were scared to enter the room without his permission. Later, however, the guards realized that they would also be arrested or executed if there was an emergency, and they were unable to assist him. Upon checking, he was in a state of near paralysis, and even after the dictator was found in a state of near paralysis, his staff continued to fear him. Doctors sent to assist him were unable to restrain their hands from shaking as they examined him. After 4 days, the great dictator passed away, apparently succumbing to a massive stroke. Before concluding the video, which of these mistakes do you consider to be the most stupid one? Additionally, If you have made any mistakes in your life that have resulted in a catastrophic outcome, please share them in the comments section below. Thank you for watching the video, and if you like this video, please press the like button and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this.